I needed that job. It didn't matter that it paid barely enough to cover rent in the shoebox apartment I shared with Grandma Rose, or that my boss had the personality of a stapler, or that the office coffee tasted like liquidized regret. I needed it because Grandma's medications cost more than our grocery budget, and because pride doesn't pay bills, and because at 26, I was supposed to have my life together. Spoiler alert, I didn't. My name is Margot Sinclair, and exactly 1 year ago, my life imploded in the break room of Hartley & Associates marketing firm over a missing designer handbag and 2 co-workers who apparently majored in backstabbing with a minor in crocodile tears. It was Margot. I saw her near Vivian's desk, Clarissa had shrieked, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at me like I was a criminal in a particularly dramatic courtroom drama. Sienna had nodded vigorously, her blonde extensions swaying like a judgmental curtain. She was acting suspicious all morning, and honestly, we all know she needs the money. That last part had stung worse than the accusation itself. Because yes, while they wore clothes that cost more than my monthly salary and took Instagram-worthy lunch breaks at restaurants I couldn't afford to walk past, I brought homemade sandwiches in reused containers and wore the same 3 work outfits on rotation. While they got monthly manicures, I painted my own nails. While they complained about their luxury gym memberships, I jogged in the park for free. Maybe that was my real crime. Being beautiful, at least that's what people told me, though I never quite believed it, but poor. Wearing clearance rack dresses that somehow looked elegant on my frame. Having naturally thick auburn hair when Sienna paid hundreds for extensions. Catching the eye of Harrison from accounting during the Christmas party when Clarissa had been flirting with him for months. I hadn't stolen Vivian's 3,000 real handbag. I hadn't even touched it. But when security found it hidden in the supply closet, the same closet I'd been organizing that morning per my boss's orders, their minds were already made up. "We have to let you go, Margot," Mr. Hartley had said, not quite meeting my eyes. "It's a matter of workplace trust." I'd tried to defend myself. God, how I'd tried. But my voice had sounded small and desperate against Clarissa's theatrical sobbing and Sienna's "I'm so disappointed in you" act that deserved an Oscar. They fired me without severance, without reference, without even letting me collect my favorite coffee mug from my desk. I'd walked out of that building with my dignity in tatters and my career in ruins, while Clarissa and Sienna watched from the window, barely concealing their smiles. Turned out Vivian found her handbag a week later, in her car, exactly where she'd left it. But by then, I was already unhireable, my reputation destroyed by gossip that spread through our industry like wildfire. The girl who stole from her co-workers, the pretty face who couldn't be trusted. No one cared about corrections when the rumor was juicier. The months that followed were a blur of rejected job applications, dwindling savings, and Grandma Rose trying to hide her worried looks behind cheerful comments about my exciting new opportunities. I sold my few pieces of jewelry, picked up odd jobs that paid cash, and learned exactly how many ways you can prepare instant noodles when that's all you can afford. I'd applied to over 60 positions. 60. Each rejection felt like another nail in the coffin of my professional life. But destiny, as Grandma Rose liked to say, has a twisted sense of humor and impeccable timing. The call came on a Tuesday night, exactly 1 year after I'd been fired. I was sitting on my kitchen floor because the second-hand couch had finally given up its will to exist, eating chocolate ice cream straight from the container like the protagonist of every romantic comedy ever made, except my life had forgotten to include the romantic or the comedy parts. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Probably another debt collector or telemarketer. "Hello?" I answered, mouth half full of ice cream, because at this point, dignity was a distant memory. "Margot Sinclair?" The voice was male, deep, with that crisp professional tone that made you immediately think of corner offices and expensive suits. I swallowed quickly, nearly choking. "Who's asking?" "My name is Theodore Blackwood. I need to meet with you tomorrow. It's about a business proposition." I actually laughed. A short, bitter sound that tasted like failure and chocolate. Look, if this is about selling essential oils or joining a multi-level marketing scheme, I'm the CEO of Blackwood Industries, he interrupted, and there was a hint of amusement in his voice now. And I'm prepared to offer you 100,000 reais for 3 months of your time. The spoon fell from my hand, clattering against the tile floor. I'm sorry. I think I heard wrong. Did you say 100,000 reais? Paid up front. A pause. I need a wife. Temporary, of course. The world tilted sideways. Or maybe that was just me, sliding down the cabinet in shock. A wife, I repeated slowly, wondering if the ice cream had been spiked or if I'd finally snapped from stress and was hallucinating. A fake wife, to be precise, for business purposes. 3 months, full compensation, all expenses paid, and a contract that protects both of us legally. His voice was calm, measured, like he was discussing quarterly reports instead of a completely insane proposal. I've done my research, Miss Sinclair. You need money. I need a solution to a complicated family situation. This could benefit us both. Research? My voice came out as a squeak. What kind of research? The thorough kind. I know about Hartley and Associates. I know what Clarissa Chen and Sienna Rodriguez did to you. I know you've been blacklisted unfairly. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried an edge of something darker. And I know they both still work there. At my company. My heart stopped. Your company? I acquired Hartley and Associates 6 months ago. It's now the marketing division of Blackwood Industries. Another pause, perfectly timed for maximum dramatic effect. So technically, Miss Sinclair, the women who destroyed your career now work for me. Interesting coincidence, don't you think? I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The universe was either playing the cruelest joke or offering me the most beautiful revenge served ice cold on a silver platter. Why me? I whispered. Because you're perfect for what I need. Beautiful enough to be believable as my wife, unknown enough in my social circles to avoid complications, and his voice softened slightly. You deserve a second chance, and perhaps a front row seat to some poetic justice. My mind was racing. This was insane, crazy, absolutely ridiculous. When do we meet? I heard myself say. I could hear the smile in his voice. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll send a car to pick you up. Wear something nice, Miss Sinclair. We have a part to rehearse. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there on my kitchen floor, surrounded by melted ice cream and broken dreams, holding a phone that had just delivered either my salvation or my next disaster. Grandma Rose shuffled into the kitchen in her bathrobe, took one look at my face, and smiled knowingly. Well, she asked, eyes twinkling. Are you going to tell me what happened, or do I have to guess? I think, I said slowly, still processing. I just got proposed to by a millionaire I've never met. She laughed, the sound warm and delighted. Now that's more like it. I always said destiny would come through, though I imagined it would involve less ice cream and more dignity. I looked down at my unicorn pajamas, the chocolate stains, my complete disaster of an existence. Tomorrow I would meet Theodore Blackwood. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight I was still Margot Sinclair, the girl who'd lost everything. Funny how quickly everything can turn into nothing left to lose. And when you have nothing left to lose, you're finally free to risk it all. I picked up my phone and texted the number back. I'll be ready. And Mr. Blackwood? They won't know what hit them. His response came immediately. That's what I'm counting on. I smiled then, really smiled. For the first time in a year. Clarissa and Sienna had taken my job, my reputation, my dignity. Tomorrow, I would take something infinitely better. Tomorrow, I would become Mrs. Theodore Blackwood. And I would walk back into that office wearing the one thing they could never afford to buy, no matter how much money they had. Victory. The black car arrived at 9:45 a.m. because apparently when you're a billionaire, Even your punctuality is extra. I'd spent the entire night trying on every combination of clothing I owned, which wasn't saying much. In the end, I settled on a simple navy dress that I'd bought for interviews. Professional, elegant, and most importantly, it still fit despite my recent diet of anxiety and instant noodles. Grandma Rose had insisted on doing my hair, styling it in an elegant low bun that made me look sophisticated and pulled together, like someone who absolutely had not been eating ice cream off the floor 12 hours ago. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," she said, adjusting a loose strand. "But remember, beauty is just the wrapping. It's your strength that makes you magnificent." I hugged her tight, breathing in her familiar lavender scent. "What if this is a mistake? Then it's your mistake to make." She pulled back, holding my face in her weathered hands. "But something tells me this Theodore Blackwood is exactly the kind of mistake that turns into the best decision of your life." The driver was professionally courteous, opening doors and speaking in practiced, pleasant tones as we drove through the city toward the business district. With every mile, the buildings grew taller, shinier, more intimidating. We pulled up to a skyscraper that seemed to pierce the clouds, all glass and steel and understated power. The Blackwood Industries logo gleamed near the top, a stylized B that looked like a crown. "Miss Sinclair," the receptionist said with a knowing smile that made my stomach flip. "Mr. Blackwood is expecting you. Top floor." Of course. Top floor. Where else would a billionaire conduct his fake marriage interviews? The elevator ride felt eternal. I watched the numbers climb. 10, 20, 30, 40. Each floor taking me further from my old life and closer to something I couldn't quite name. The doors opened to reveal an office that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought opulent was too humble a word. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city. Modern art that probably cost more than my apartment decorated the walls. Everything screamed money, power, and the kind of success I'd only ever dreamed about. And behind an enormous mahogany desk, backlit by the morning sun like some kind of corporate angel, sat Theodore Blackwood. He looked up as I entered, and I forgot how to breathe. The photos online, and yes, I'd spent half the night Googling him, hadn't done him justice. Theodore Blackwood was beautiful in that dangerous way that made smart women make stupid decisions. Dark hair perfectly styled, sharp jawline that could cut glass, and eyes the color of storm clouds that seemed to see right through every defense I'd ever built. He stood, and I noticed he was tall, easily over 6 feet, with the kind of build that suggested he didn't just sit behind a desk all day. The suit he wore probably cost more than I'd made in 6 months at Hartley & Associates, and he wore it like armor. "Miss Sinclair," he said, and his voice was even better in person, smooth, confident, with an undertone of something that made my pulse quicken. "Thank you for coming." "Mr. Blackwood," I managed, proud that my voice only wobbled slightly. "You have an interesting way of proposing." His lips curved into a smile that was part amusement, part challenge. "I find traditional methods are often inefficient. Please sit." I sat in the chair across from him, hyper-aware of every movement, every breath. This close, I could see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes, the slight shadow of stubble on his jaw, the way his fingers drummed once against the desk, a brief crack in his otherwise perfect composure. "I assume you have questions," he said. "Several thousand," I admitted. "But let's start with the obvious one. Why do you need a fake wife?" Theodore leaned back in his chair, studying me with an intensity that made me feel like a specimen under a microscope. "My grandfather is dying," he said bluntly. "He has perhaps 3 months left. His final wish is to see me married, settled, with what he considers a respectable future secured. And you can't just find a real wife?" His laugh was short, bitter. "I don't have time for real. Real requires dating, emotions, the risk of messiness and complications. I have a company to run, acquisitions to finalize, and a family legacy to protect. A business arrangement is cleaner." "Cleaner," I repeated. "You want to lie to your dying grandfather." "I want to give him peace." His eyes flashed with something raw. I want him to die believing I'll be happy. Is that so terrible? The honesty in his voice caught me off guard. This wasn't just business. This was grief wearing an expensive suit. What exactly would this arrangement entail? I asked carefully. He pulled out a folder, because of course he had a folder, and slid it across the desk. 3 months. You'll move into my penthouse, attend family dinners and social events, play the role of devoted wife. In public, we're a happy couple. In private, separate bedrooms, separate lives. And after 3 months, clean divorce. You walk away with 100,000 rays, a glowing reference letter from me personally, and... He paused, that dangerous smile returning. A position in my company if you want it. Your choice of department. My heart hammered. Even marketing. Especially marketing. His eyes held mine. I told you, Miss Sinclair. I know what happened to you. And I believe in correcting injustices when possible. This is insane, I whispered. Completely, he agreed. But you're still here. He was right. I was still here. Still considering this absolutely ridiculous proposal. Because the alternative was what? More rejection emails? More watching Grandma Rose pretend she wasn't worried about money? More living with the bitter taste of injustice? If I agree, I said slowly, I have conditions. Theodore's eyebrows rose slightly, but he looked intrigued. I'm listening. 1. Nobody can know this is fake. Not your family, not the company, no one. If we're doing this, we do it right. Agreed. 2. I want access to my personnel file from Hartley and Associates. The real one, not the edited version they probably have on record. His smile widened. Consider it done. 3. I took a deep breath. When I walk back into that office as your wife, I want Clarissa Chen and Sienna Rodriguez to be there. I want them to see me. I want them to know. Theodore's eyes gleamed with something that looked like approval, maybe even admiration. Miss Sinclair, I think this might be the beginning of a beautiful partnership. He extended his hand across the desk. I looked at it, strong, confident, offering me everything I'd lost and more. This was crazy, reckless, potentially the worst decision of my life. I reached out and shook his hand. Call me Margot, I said. If I'm going to be your wife, we should probably use first names. His grip was warm, firm, sending an unexpected jolt through my system. Margot, he said, testing my name on his tongue. Welcome to the Blackwood family. I think you're going to enjoy what comes next. He had no idea how right he was, because 1 year ago Clarissa and Sienna had destroyed me in that office. Now, I was about to return as their boss's wife. Revenge, I was learning, looked absolutely stunning in designer clothing, and I was about to wear it very, very well. Absolutely not. I stared at the rack of clothes Theodore's assistant had wheeled into the penthouse living room. Each piece probably cost more than my annual salary used to be. Margot, Theodore said patiently, loosening his tie as he leaned against the marble kitchen counter. You can't walk into that office wearing... He gestured vaguely at my outfit. Clearance rack armor. You're supposed to be my wife. I'm supposed to be your fake wife, I corrected, crossing my arms. There's a difference. Not to anyone watching. He pushed off the counter and walked toward me, each step deliberate. Listen, I understand pride. I respect it. But this isn't about charity. It's about selling a believable story. Would a billionaire's wife shop at discount stores? I hated that he was right. Hated it with every fiber of my stubborn being. Fine, I muttered. But I'm not wearing anything that makes me look like I'm trying too hard. His laugh was unexpected, warm and genuine. Trust me, Margot. You couldn't try too hard if you wanted to. You're naturally... He paused, something flickering in his eyes. Compelling. Heat crept up my neck. Smooth talker. Honest observer. He checked his watch. We have the family dinner tomorrow night. My grandfather, my mother, my sister Blair, and approximately 12 courses of judgment. Think you can handle it? I survived being publicly accused of theft and fired in front of my colleagues, I said dryly. I think I can manage some passive-aggressive dinner conversation. Theodore's expression softened. About that. He walked to his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Your personnel file, as requested. My hands trembled as I took it. Inside were the original security reports, witness statements, even footage timestamps. And there, buried in the back, was a handwritten note from Vivian to HR. Found my bag in my car. False alarm. Please disregard previous report. Dated 3 days after my termination. They knew, I whispered, fury building in my chest. HR knew I was innocent and they never called me back. They just let me burn. Hartley was protecting his golden girls, Theodore said quietly. Clarissa's father invested heavily in the company. Sienna was dating a major client. You were expendable. They made a business decision. A business decision that destroyed my life. Which is why... He moved closer, his voice dropping. We're going to make them regret every single choice they made. Together. The way he said, together, sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. This wasn't just my revenge anymore. It was ours. A partnership sealed with a handshake and bound by mutual benefit. And something else I wasn't ready to name. That evening, Theodore's stylist descended upon me like a fairy godmother with a black credit card and zero patience for my protests. Darling, you have magnificent bone structure, Giselle declared, circling me like a predator. But these clothes? They're committing crimes against fashion. Strip. Excuse me? We need to start fresh. Measurements, color analysis, the works. She clapped her hands. Theodore is paying me extremely well to make you look like you belong on his arm. Let me work. 3 hours later, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. The woman staring back wore a fitted emerald dress that hugged curves I'd forgotten I had. My hair fell in loose waves over my shoulders, professionally styled but effortlessly elegant. The makeup was subtle but transformative, highlighting my eyes and making my skin glow. I looked expensive, powerful, like someone who absolutely could be married to Theodore Blackwood. Perfect, Giselle breathed. You're going to break hearts. Theodore appeared in the doorway, and I watched his reaction in the mirror. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly, his jaw tightening as he took me in. For a long moment, he just stared. Well, I asked, turning to face him. Believable enough? He cleared his throat, composing himself. You'll do. But the way his gaze lingered told a different story. The next evening, I stood outside the Blackwood family estate, my palms sweating despite the cool. The mansion loomed before us, all old money elegance imitating architecture. Ready? Asked, offering his arm. No. I took it anyway. But let's do this. His hand covered mine, warm and steadying. Remember, we're madly in love. I swept you off your feet. Love at first sight, whirlwind romance. Couldn't wait to make you mine. That's quite a story. The best lies are built on partial truths, he said softly, looking down at me with an intensity that felt dangerously real. And honestly, the sweeping you off your feet part isn't hard to believe. Before I could respond, the door swung open. An elegant woman in her 60s stood there, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, her eyes sharp and assessing. Theodore's mother. I recognized her from the photos. Theodore, darling. She air-kissed his cheeks before turning her laser focus on me. And you must be the mysterious woman who captured my son's heart in, what was it, 3 weeks? 2 weeks, actually, I said smoothly, extending my hand. Margot Sinclair. Though I suppose it's Margot Blackwood now. Her handshake was firm, testing. Quite the whirlwind. You'll understand if we're cautiously curious. Mother, Theodore said with a warning edge. I'm just saying what we're all thinking, dear. She stepped aside. Come in. Your grandfather is eager to meet her. The interior was even more impressive than the exterior. all marble and crystal and generations of wealth casually displayed. But I'd learned something in my year of struggle. Confidence is free, and sometimes it's the only luxury you can afford. I walked in like I belonged there, because tonight, I did. A frail man sat in a wingback chair by the fireplace, oxygen tubes in his nose but his eyes bright with curiosity. Theodore's grandfather. "Grandpa," Theodore said softly, kneeling beside him. "I want you to meet someone very special. This is Margot, my wife." The old man's eyes filled with tears. "You got married? Without telling us?" "We couldn't wait," I said, moving forward and taking his weathered hand. "When you know, you know. And I knew the moment I met your grandson that he was my future. It should have felt like lying. But something in the old man's joy, the relief flooding his features, made it feel like the kindest gift I could give. "She's beautiful, Theo," he whispered. "You did good, boy. You did real good." Theodore's hand found mine, squeezing gently. When I looked at him, his eyes held something raw. Gratitude, maybe, or something deeper. "I know, Grandpa," he said quietly. "I'm the luckiest man alive." For a moment, playing pretend felt dangerously close to wanting it to be real. A young woman burst into the room, mid-20s, stylish, with Theodore's same storm-gray eyes. "You got married? Without inviting me? I'm your sister." "Blair, meet Margot," Theodore said with a resigned sigh. "Margot, my dramatic sister." Blair circled me, examining every detail. "Okay, I'm mad about missing the wedding, but I have to admit, she's gorgeous. Where did you find her? And more importantly," she leaned in conspiratorially, "what dirt do you have on my brother to make him actually commit?" I couldn't help but laugh. "He's not that bad." "Give it time," Blair said with a grin. "But seriously, welcome to the family. We're dysfunctional but loyal. Mostly." Dinner was a battlefield disguised as fine dining. Theodore's mother asked pointed questions about my family, my education, my intentions. I deflected with practiced grace, letting Theodore's hand on my knee ground me whenever the interrogation intensified. "So you two met at a charity gala?" his mother pressed. "A coffee shop, actually," Theodore interjected smoothly. She was reading, completely absorbed. I couldn't look away. The lie rolled off his tongue so easily, I almost believed it myself. After dinner, we escaped to the garden, a sprawling maze of roses and moonlight. "You were amazing in there," Theodore said, his hand still holding mine even though no one was watching. "Your mother hates me. She's suspicious. There's a difference." He stopped walking, turning to face me. "Thank you for making my grandfather happy, for playing this part so perfectly." "It's what you're paying me for," I said, but my voice came out softer than intended. "Is it?" His thumb traced circles on my palm, because it felt like more than acting in there. My heart hammered. This was dangerous territory, blurred lines between pretend and real, between contract and something else entirely. "Theodore, tomorrow," he said quietly, stepping closer. "Tomorrow we go to the office. Tomorrow we face your demons. But tonight," his free hand came up to cup my cheek. "Tonight, let's just be two people who made an impossible deal and somehow made it work." I should have stepped back, should have reminded him this was fake, temporary, business. Instead, I leaned into his touch. "One day at a time," I whispered. "One day at a time," he agreed. And as we stood in that garden, playing our parts or being ourselves, I honestly couldn't tell anymore. I realized something terrifying. Revenge was supposed to be cold. So why did being near Theodore Blackwood make me feel like I was burning? Tomorrow, I would face Clarissa and Sienna. But tonight, I was falling for the man I'd agreed to fake marry. And that wasn't in the contract at all. I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times during my year of exile. Walking back into that office, head held high, vindication wrapped around me like armor. But I'd never imagined doing it wearing a Chanel suit and 4-carat diamond ring on the arm of the man who owned the entire building. "You ready?" Theodore asked as we stepped out of the private elevator that led directly to the executive floor. I smoothed down my cream-colored suit, perfectly tailored, obscenely expensive, and chosen specifically because it screamed old money elegance. My hair was swept into a sophisticated chignon, my makeup flawless, my heels clicking with authority on the marble floor. "I was born ready," I said, then paused. "Actually, that's a lie. I'm terrified, but I'm doing it anyway." His hand pressed against my lower back, possessive, reassuring. "That's courage, not fear. There's a difference." We walked through the executive corridor, past assistants who straightened in their chairs, past junior executives who did double takes. The whispers started immediately. "Is that the wife? Married Theodore Blackwood?" Music to my ears. Theodore's corner office overlooked the entire city, but he bypassed it, leading me instead toward the elevator that would take us down to the marketing floor, my old floor. "Last chance to change your mind," he murmured. I pressed the button myself. Not a chance in hell. The marketing floor looked exactly the same. Same bland cubicles, same motivational posters that motivated no one, same coffee-stained carpet that had witnessed my professional execution. But I wasn't the same. We stepped off the elevator, and the office went silent. Phones stopped ringing, keyboards stopped clicking. Everyone froze like we'd walked into a photograph. And there, near the window, sat Clarissa and Sienna at their desks. Clarissa saw me first. Her eyes widened, her expensive coffee cup slipping from her manicured fingers and splattering across her desk. "Oh my God!" Sienna's head snapped up, her mouth falling open in a perfect O of shock. That's not possible." Theodore's hand tightened on my waist. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice carrying across the frozen office. "I wanted to personally introduce you to my wife, Margot Blackwood. Some of you may remember her as Margot Sinclair." The gasps were audible. "Delicious." "Margot will be visiting the office regularly," Theodore continued smoothly, "and I expect her to be treated with the respect befitting her position. Is that clear?" A chorus of, "Yes, Mr. Blackwood," echoed through the space. I smiled, gracious, warm, the picture of a woman who'd never been destroyed in this very room. "It's wonderful to see familiar faces. Clarissa, Sienna, you both look well." Clarissa's face had gone the color of spoiled milk. "Margot, we didn't know you. How did you meet my husband?" I finished sweetly. Funny story, actually. Turns out getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me. It freed me up to meet Theodore. We fell in love, got married, and well, I gazed up at him adoringly. The rest is history. Theodore played his part perfectly, looking down at me with such convincing affection that I almost forgot we were acting. "I'm the lucky one," he said, pressing a kiss to my temple. The gesture was purely for show. So why did my heart stutter? Sienna found her voice, though it came out strangled. "Congratulations. That's really wonderful." "Thank you," I said, with practiced warmth. "You know, I've been thinking about my time here, about what happened, about that missing handbag." Both women went rigid. "And I realized something," I continued, my smile never faltering. "Everything happens for a reason. If that incident hadn't occurred, I wouldn't have met Theodore. So in a way," I looked directly at Clarissa, "I should thank you." The words hung in the air like poisoned honey, sweet but deadly. Theodore checked his watch. "I have a meeting with department heads in 10 minutes. Margot, would you like to join me?" "I'd love to." I turned to address the room. It was lovely seeing everyone. I'm sure we'll be seeing much more of each other. As we walked toward the conference room, I heard Clarissa's voice, shrill with panic. "Did you see that ring? That's at least 6 months' salary, maybe a year." She married Theodore Blackwood, someone whispered. The Theodore Blackwood, the one who could buy this entire company with his pocket change. I heard he's completely obsessed with her, canceled meetings just to have lunch with her. Theodore leaned down, his lips brushing my ear. You're enjoying this. Is it that obvious? I whispered back. Absolutely. His hand squeezed mine. You're magnificent when you're victorious. The department head meeting was surreal. I sat beside Theodore at the head of the conference table, not participating, just observing, while men and women who earned six figures discussed quarterly projections and market strategies. And 3 seats down sat Mr. Hartley himself, the man who'd fired me without a second thought. He'd barely looked at me when we entered, probably didn't even recognize me. Why would he? I'd been nobody to him, expendable. Hartley, Theodore said coldly, mid-presentation. Your division's numbers are down 15% this quarter. Explain. Hartley fumbled with his papers, sweat beading on his forehead. Well, sir, the market conditions are identical for all divisions, yet marketing is the only one underperforming. Theodore's voice could have frozen hell. Perhaps it's a leadership issue. I assure you, Mr. Blackwood. Do you remember Margot Sinclair? Theodore interrupted, gesturing to me. Hartley's eyes finally landed on me, confusion flickering across his features. The name sounds familiar. She worked for you a year ago. Excellent performance reviews, strong client relationships, innovative ideas. Theodore pulled out a file, my file. Until she was terminated for allegedly stealing a handbag. A handbag that was found days later, proving her innocence. An innocence your HR department chose not to act on. The color drained from Hartley's face. That was a complicated situation. It was a failure of leadership, Theodore said flatly. You protected your profitable employees at the expense of justice. You destroyed an innocent woman's career to avoid inconvenience. He leaned forward. Margot is my wife now, which makes your failure my problem. The room was silent enough to hear hearts breaking. Sir, I had no idea. Of course you didn't. You didn't care enough to find out. Theodore closed the file. You have 2 weeks to improve your division's numbers by 10%. If you fail, we'll discuss your future with this company. Meeting adjourned. People fled the conference room like it was on fire. Hartley approached us, his hands shaking. Mrs. Blackwood, I sincerely apologize. If I had known, you would have done the same thing, I said quietly, because I was nobody to you. Just another employee. Replaceable. Please, if there's anything I can do. There is, Theodore said. You can leave. Now. After Hartley scurried away, I turned to Theodore. That was brutal. That was justice. His eyes searched mine. Too much? I thought about the past year, the rejection emails, Grandma Rose's worried face. The nights I'd cried myself to sleep, wondering what I'd done to deserve such cruelty. No, I said softly. It was perfect. His expression softened. Come on. Let me take you to lunch. Somewhere expensive and completely unnecessary. Theodore Blackwood, are you trying to spoil me? Absolutely. He offered his arm. Is it working? I took it, feeling lighter than I had in months. Maybe. As we left the building, I caught sight of Clarissa and Sienna watching from the window, their faces masks of shock and envy. 1 year ago, they'd stood in that same spot, smiling as I was escorted out in disgrace. Today, I was walking out on the arm of their boss's boss, wearing clothes they couldn't afford, living a life they could only dream of. Revenge wasn't supposed to feel this good, but God help me, it did. What are you thinking about? Theodore asked as his driver opened the door. That I'm starting to understand why people say living well is the best revenge. He smiled, that devastating smile that made my knees weak. Margot, we're just getting started. Wait until you see what I have planned for the company gala next month. The gala? Black tie event. All the major players in the industry, including every person who refused to hire you this past year. His eyes glinted with mischief. Think you can handle being the center of attention? I thought about the woman I'd been. Broken, defeated, barely surviving. And the woman I was becoming. Strong, confident, ready to burn the world down and dance in the ashes. Try and stop me, I said. His laugh was pure delight. That's my girl. And the terrifying part? For a moment, I actually believed I was. Living with Theodore Blackwood was like existing in a parallel universe where everything was beautiful, expensive, and slightly terrifying. His penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the city's most exclusive building, floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than cars, and a wine collection that made me nervous to breathe near it. Your room is down this hall, he'd said on my first night, gesturing to the left wing. Mine is on the right. Complete privacy. The housekeeper comes Mondays and Thursdays. Chef prepares meals if you want, or the kitchen is fully stocked if you prefer cooking. It was perfect, professional, exactly what we'd agreed to. So why did it feel lonely? 3 weeks into our arrangement, I'd fallen into a routine. Morning coffee on the balcony overlooking the city. Afternoons spent with Grandma Rose, who'd nearly fainted when she saw where I was living. Evenings pretending to be madly in love at various social functions. The pretending was getting dangerously easy. You're getting good at this, Blair said one afternoon as we had lunch at a cafe downtown. Theodore's sister had appointed herself my new best friend, showing up unannounced with shopping bags and brutal honesty. Good at what? I asked, picking at my salad. Playing the perfect wife. At grandfather's birthday party last week, you had everyone convinced. Even Mother is starting to soften. She paused, studying me over her wine glass. The question is, are you still playing? My fork clattered against the plate. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Blair said gently, I've seen how you look at my brother when you think no one's watching. And more importantly, I've seen how he looks at you. It's an act, Blair. We have an agreement. Agreements can change. She leaned forward conspiratorially. You know he's different since you came into his life. He actually laughs now. Takes lunch breaks. Last week he left a board meeting early because you texted him a funny meme. Theodore never leaves meetings. Heat crept up my neck. It was a really funny meme. Margot. Her voice was serious now. My brother hasn't let anyone close since Victoria. Victoria? Blair's expression darkened. His ex-fiancée. 3 years ago. She loved his money more than she loved him. When the tabloids published rumors about a potential company scandal, completely false by the way, she left him, publicly. Told everyone she couldn't be associated with that kind of risk. She shook her head. It destroyed him. He buried himself in work, built higher walls, swore off anything real. My chest tightened. He never told me. He wouldn't. Theodore doesn't do vulnerable. Blair's eyes softened. But with you? I see cracks in that armor, and honestly, it terrifies me, because in 2 months, you're supposed to disappear from his life. And I don't think either of you are prepared for how much that's going to hurt. That night I couldn't sleep. Blair's words echoed in my mind, mixing with memories of every small moment that had felt too real. Theodore's hand lingering on mine. The way he'd defended me to his mother. How he'd memorized my coffee order without asking. At 2 a.m. I gave up and wandered to the kitchen, finding Theodore already there in pajama pants and a t-shirt, the most casual I'd ever seen him. He was staring at a laptop, a tumbler of whiskey beside him. Can't sleep? He asked without looking up. Apparently insomnia is contagious. I poured myself water. What are you working on? The gala seating chart. He finally looked at me, and something flickered in his eyes. I'm making sure you're positioned perfectly. Everyone who rejected you, who believed the rumors, who didn't give you a chance, they'll all watch you shine. My breath caught. You don't have to do all this. I want to. He closed the laptop, his full attention on me now. You deserve people seeing who you really are, Not who Clarissa and Sienna said you were. I moved closer, drawn by something I couldn't name. Blair told me about Victoria today. His expression shuddered immediately. Did she now? She's worried about us, about what happens when this ends. Blair worries about everything. It's her hobby. But his voice was tight. Theodore. I sat beside him at the kitchen island. Are we making a mistake? Which part? The fake marriage or… He looked at me, really looked at me. The fact that it's starting to feel not so fake. The honesty punched the air from my lungs. We have a contract, I whispered. Fuck the contract. He turned to face me fully. Margot, I've spent 3 weeks living with you, watching you read on Sunday mornings, hearing you laugh at terrible TV shows, seeing how you are with my grandfather, my sister, how you handle my mother's interrogations with grace and humor. His hand came up to cup my face, and I'm starting to forget why we're supposed to be pretending. This wasn't the deal, I said, but I was leaning into his touch. No, it wasn't. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. The deal was business, clean, simple. But you're not simple, Margot Sinclair. You're extraordinary, and I'm absolutely terrified of what that means. You're not the only one. My voice shook. I came here for revenge, for money, for a fresh start. I didn't come here to fall for your fake husband. Feel things I have no right feeling. Theodore's laugh was soft, almost broken. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Both too scared to admit what's happening. What is happening? I asked. He leaned forward, his forehead resting against mine. Something I wasn't looking for. Something I definitely didn't plan for. Something that makes every careful wall I've built feel like paper. My heart was racing. Theodore, I'm not asking you to change the agreement, he said quietly. I'm not asking for promises or declarations. I'm just asking. He pulled back to look at me. Can we stop pretending that pretending is working? Can we just see where this goes? It was the most vulnerable I'd ever seen him. The CEO armor completely stripped away, leaving just a man who'd been hurt before and was choosing to risk it again. With me. I'm scared, I admitted. Me too. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? His hand was still on my face, warm and steady. My heart was screaming yes, while my brain listed all the reasons this was dangerous. We have the gala in 2 weeks, I said finally. Let's get through that. Give ourselves time to figure out what's real and what's just. Proximity and convenience. Disappointment flashed across his features, but he nodded. 2 weeks, and then we talk, honestly, about what this is and what we want it to be. I can agree to that. He stood, but not before pressing a kiss to my forehead, soft, lingering, full of unspoken promises. Good night, Margot. Good night, Theodore. I watched him walk away, every instinct screaming to call him back. Blair was right. We were playing a dangerous game, and the lines between fake and real were so blurred I couldn't see them anymore. 2 weeks until the gala. 2 weeks to figure out if I was falling in love with my fake husband. 2 weeks to decide if I was brave enough to risk my heart on a man who'd already been broken once. As I finally climbed into bed, my phone buzzed with a text from Theodore. For the record, it's real for me. Has been since you walked into my office wearing that navy dress and looked at me like I was insane for proposing this. Sleep well, wife. I stared at the message, my heart doing acrobatics in my chest. Sleep well, husband. We'll figure this out. His response was immediate. Together. Together. I fell asleep smiling, the word echoing in my mind like a promise, a prayer, and a terrifying leap of faith all at once. The gala couldn't come soon enough. And honestly, I couldn't wait to see what happened when we stopped pretending and started living. The dress arrived 3 days before the gala in a box so luxurious I was afraid to touch it. Open it, Theodore urged, leaning against the doorframe of my room with that half smile that made my stomach flip. Inside layers of tissue paper was the most breathtaking gown I'd ever seen, midnight blue silk that shimmered like starlight, with a neckline that was elegant but daring, and a slit that promised sophistication with a hint of danger. "Theodore, this is perfect for you," he finished. "I may have had it custom made, by a designer who owed me a favor." I lifted the dress carefully, watching the fabric catch the light. "You didn't have to do this." "I know." He moved closer, his fingers brushing the silk. "But I wanted everyone to see you the way I see you. Magnificent." The air between us crackled with everything we weren't saying. 2 weeks had passed since our kitchen confession, and we'd been dancing around each other like nervous teenagers. Stolen glances, accidental touches, conversations that stopped just short of dangerous territory. Tonight would change everything. "Are you nervous?" he asked softly. "Terrified," I admitted. "Everyone who rejected me will be there. Everyone who believed I was a thief." "Good." His eyes darkened. "Let them see what they missed. Let them choke on their regret." The gala was held at the Grand Belmont. 5 stories of marble, crystal chandeliers, and old money opulence. As our car pulled up, I saw the red carpet lined with photographers, society reporters, and curious onlookers. "Ready to make an entrance?" Theodore asked, adjusting his bow tie. He looked devastating in his custom tuxedo, all sharp lines and controlled power. "With you?" "Always." His hand found mine, squeezing once. "Remember, you're Margot Blackwood tonight. You belong here. You belong everywhere." The car door opened, and camera flashes exploded like stars. Theodore stepped out first, then offered his hand. I took it, emerging from the car in a wave of midnight silk and carefully constructed confidence. The crowd gasped audibly. "Mrs. Blackwood, over here!" "Theodore, who designed her dress?" "Are the marriage rumors true?" Theodore's arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me close. "Gentlemen, ladies, meet my wife. Isn't she breathtaking?" He said it with such pride, such genuine affection, that for a moment I forgot every camera pointed at us. Forgot the contract. Forgot everything except the way he was looking at me like I'd hung the moon personally. We walked the carpet together, stopping for photos, deflecting invasive questions with practiced charm. And then we entered the ballroom. It was like walking into a fairy tale designed by someone with unlimited funds and impeccable taste. Ice sculptures, champagne fountains, an orchestra playing classical music that made everything feel like a period drama. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, were the people who'd rejected me. "Margot?" A familiar voice made me turn. James Holloway, CEO of Holloway Marketing. I'd interviewed with him 8 months ago. He'd looked at my resume, mentioned the incident at Hartley & Associates, and ended the interview 5 minutes early. Now he was staring at me like I'd materialized from another dimension. "James," I said warmly, extending my hand. "How lovely to see you." You're married to Theodore Blackwood?" He looked between us, confusion and dawning horror crossing his features. How did... "Life works in mysterious ways," Theodore said coolly, his hand possessive on my back. "You two know each other?" "Margot interviewed with my company last year," James said quickly. "Unfortunately, the position was filled." "Unfortunately," I echoed sweetly. "But as you can see, things worked out beautifully for me." Theodore's smile was pure ice. "Holloway, I believe we were discussing that merger proposal your company submitted. I'll have my team take another look. Though I have to say, my confidence in your decision-making has diminished considerably." James paled. "Mr. Blackwood, I assure you." "Enjoy the gala," Theodore said dismissively, already guiding me away. "That was brutal," I whispered. "That was justice." He grabbed 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter. "And we're just getting started." The night unfolded like a perfectly choreographed revenge fantasy. Every person who'd dismissed me, every company that had blacklisted me, every former colleague who'd believed the rumors. They all watched as Theodore introduced me as his wife with unmistakable pride. And then I saw them. Clarissa and Sienna, dressed in their finest, standing near the dessert table, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. They'd clearly been dragged here by the company, forced to attend as representatives of the marketing division. "There they are," Theodore murmured in my ear. "Want to say hello?" "Absolutely." We approached with the confidence of people who held all the cards. "Clarissa, Sienna," I said brightly. "What a surprise seeing you here." Clarissa's smile was strained. "Margot, you look different." "Happy, you mean?" I let Theodore pull me closer. "Marriage agrees with me." Sienna's eyes were fixed on my ring, the massive diamond that caught the light with every movement. "It's a beautiful ring." "Thank you." "Theodore has excellent taste." I paused for effect. "In everything." "How did you two meet?" Clarissa asked, and there was something sharp in her voice, suspicious. "Does it matter?" Theodore interjected smoothly. "What matters is that I found her, or perhaps she found me. Either way." He looked down at me with such convincing adoration my heart stuttered. I'm the luckiest man in this room. "How romantic," Sienna said flatly. "Isn't it?" I agreed. "You know, I really should thank you both. If you hadn't falsely accused me of theft, gotten me fired, and destroyed my reputation, I never would have been free to meet Theodore. So genuinely, thank you." The words hung in the air like a blade. Clarissa's face went red. "That was a misunderstanding." "Was it?" Theodore's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Because I've reviewed the security footage, the HR reports, even Vivian's retraction that was conveniently never sent to Margot. From where I stand, it looks less like a misunderstanding and more like calculated cruelty. Mr. Blackwood, we never meant—" "Save it." His eyes were cold. "You're both on probation. One more misstep and you're done. Not just at my company. I have connections throughout this industry, and I'm not above using them. Consider this your only warning." He turned his back on them, guiding me toward the dance floor. "Dance with me?" "I thought you'd never ask." The orchestra was playing something slow and romantic. Theodore pulled me close, one hand on my waist, the other holding mine against his chest. "You're trembling," he murmured. "That was intense." "Too much?" "No." I looked up at him, seeing concern in his eyes. "It was perfect. You were perfect. Margot." His hand tightened on my waist. "I need to tell you something." My heart raced. "What?" "This whole evening, showing you off, defending you, making sure everyone sees how extraordinary you are. It's not just about revenge anymore." His eyes searched mine. "It stopped being about revenge weeks ago." "Theodore, I know we said we'd wait, talk after the gala, but I can't keep pretending I'm pretending." He pulled me closer until we were barely swaying, just holding each other. "I'm in love with you, Margot. Completely, terrifyingly, irrevocably in love with you." The world stopped. Around us, people danced and laughed and lived their lives. But in our small circle of space, everything had changed. "You can't be," I whispered. "Why not?" "Because this was supposed to be fake. Because I'm supposed to leave in 6 weeks. Because—" My voice broke. "Because I'm in love with you too. And I don't know how to reconcile that with a contract that has an expiration date." His smile was brilliant, devastating, full of hope. "Then we rip up the contract." "What?" "The contract, the arrangement, all of it. We end it. Right now." He stopped dancing entirely, holding my face in his hands while the orchestra played on. "And then I ask you properly. Not as a business deal, not as a temporary arrangement, but as a man who wants to spend the rest of his life with the woman who walked into his office wearing a clearance rack dress and changed everything." Tears blurred my vision. "Theodore, marry me, Margot. For real this time. No contracts, no time limits, no exit strategies, Just you and me and whatever future we want to build. I was crying now, mascara probably running, not caring who was watching. Yes, God, yes. He kissed me then, in front of everyone, soft and deep and full of promises we were finally brave enough to keep. The ballroom erupted in applause. Somewhere in the crowd, Clarissa and Sienna watched their former victim become the center of the most romantic moment of the season. But I didn't care about them anymore. Revenge had brought me here. But love? Love was keeping me. The morning after the gala, I woke up in Theodore's bed. Not in the guest room. Not in my designated wing of the penthouse. In his bed, wrapped in his arms, with sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, and the distinct feeling that my entire life had shifted on its axis. "Good morning, wife," Theodore murmured against my hair, his voice rough with sleep. The real kind this time. I turned to face him, taking in his disheveled hair and the soft smile that he only wore when he thought no one was watching. "Are you sure you weren't just caught up in the moment last night? The champagne, the music, the dramatic setting." Margot. He propped himself up on one elbow, suddenly serious. "I've been sure since week 2. I've just been terrified to admit it." His finger traced my jawline. "You make me want things I thought I'd given up on. Like mornings that matter more than board meetings. Like someone to come home to who sees me, not just the empire." My heart squeezed. "I see you. I've always seen you." "I know." He kissed my forehead. "That's what scared me most." We stayed like that for a while, just existing in the quiet morning. No pretense, no performance, just us. It felt impossibly fragile and absolutely right. Then his phone buzzed, and buzzed again, and didn't stop. Theodore groaned, reaching for it. His expression shifted as he scrolled through messages. "Well, we're trending." "What?" He showed me his screen. Photos from the gala were everywhere. Us on the red carpet, the kiss on the dance floor. Headlines screaming, "Blackwood's secret wife revealed," and "the most romantic proposal of the year." "Oh God," I whispered, "your mother is going to kill us." "Actually," he scrolled further, "she texted congratulations." And something about finally showing real emotion, followed by 7 heart emojis. I didn't know she knew how to use emojis. I laughed, the sound breaking the tension. "What about your grandfather?" Theodore's expression softened. "He called at 6 a.m., said he knew all along we were really in love, that he was just waiting for us to figure it out ourselves. Then he made me promise to bring you to Sunday dinner." "He knew?" "Apparently everyone knew except us." He pulled me closer. "Blair texted that she's taking credit for the entire relationship. Your grandmother called my assistant demanding details about wedding plans. The real wedding, she specified." Reality was setting in. This wasn't just about us anymore. This was real, public, permanent. "Theodore," I said carefully, "what about the contract, the money?" He sat up fully, running a hand through his hair. "Keep it. You earned it, dealing with my family, the media scrutiny, playing a role that couldn't have been easy. Consider it compensation for emotional labor. I can't just, Margot, I'm a billionaire. That money means nothing to me. But you mean everything." He cupped my face. "Use it to help your grandmother. Start a business, invest it, burn it ceremonially. I don't care. Just don't leave me because you think you're somehow indebted." Tears pricked my eyes. "I'm not leaving." "Promise?" "Promise." Monday morning brought a new challenge. Walking into Blackwood Industries not as Theodore's fake wife, but as his real one. "You don't have to come with me," Theodore said as we stood in the private elevator. "You could take time, figure out what you want to do career-wise. No pressure." "Actually," I said, straightening my blazer, professional but powerful, "I've been thinking. You offered me a position, remember? Your choice of department." His eyes lit up. "You want to work here?" "I want to work in marketing, not to spy on Clarissa and Sienna, though that's a perk, but because I'm actually good at it." And I have ideas, fresh perspectives from someone who's been on the outside looking in. You'd be reporting to Hartley. For now. I smiled. But I'm patient. And good. Really good. I'll earn my way up legitimately. Pride shone in his expression. You're extraordinary, you know that? You might have mentioned it once or twice. The elevator doors opened to reveal Blair waiting in the lobby, arms crossed and wearing a shit-eating grin. Well, well, well. If it isn't the couple who broke the internet last night. Blair, Theodore warned. Oh, relax, I'm thrilled. She hugged me tightly. Though I'm mildly offended you didn't tell me you were actually in love. I had to find out from viral videos like everyone else. It happened fast, I said. The best things do. She looped her arm through mine. Come on, future sister-in-law. I'm giving you the real tour of the building, including where Theodore hides when board meetings get boring. I don't hide. 7th floor supply closet every Tuesday at 3 p.m., Blair stage whispered. He thinks no one knows. Watching them bicker, I felt something settle in my chest. This was family. Messy, loving, real family. My first day in the marketing department was surreal. Hartley looked like he'd swallowed glass when HR informed him I'd be joining the team. Mrs. Blackwood, what a surprise. Please, call me Margot. I smiled pleasantly. I'm here to work, not to cause problems. I have ideas for the Riverside campaign that I think could increase engagement by 30%. He blinked. You've reviewed the Riverside campaign? I've reviewed all your active campaigns. You're playing it safe when the market wants bold. I have a presentation ready if you're interested. For a moment, he just stared. Then, grudgingly, conference room. 1 hour. Clarissa and Sienna watched from their desks, their expressions unreadable. I didn't gloat or acknowledge them. I just worked. Because here's what they didn't understand. Revenge wasn't about rubbing their faces in my success. It was about succeeding so completely that they became irrelevant to my story. My presentation went flawlessly. Even Hartley looked impressed, though he tried to hide it. By the end of the day, I had approval to lead the Riverside campaign revision. I texted Theodore, first day success, leading a major campaign. Also, your supply closet hiding spot isn't as secret as you think. His response, Blair told you, didn't she? Traitor, I'm so proud of you. Dinner tonight? I'm cooking. You cook? I'm a man of many hidden talents, Mrs. Blackwood. You have a lifetime to discover them all. That evening, I found Theodore in the penthouse kitchen, actually cooking, or attempting to. There was flour on his face, something smoking slightly in the oven, and an expression of intense concentration that made me fall in love with him all over again. Should I be concerned? I asked, leaning against the doorframe. Only moderately. I may have overestimated my culinary skills. He looked up, grinning sheepishly. I was trying to make your grandmother's recipe. The one you mentioned, the pasta dish she makes for special occasions? My heart clenched. You remembered that? I remember everything you tell me. He abandoned the stove to pull me close. How was it really? Your first day back in that office? Hard, I admitted. Seeing them, knowing what they did. But also, liberating. Because I'm not there because of pity or revenge. I'm there because I'm good at what I do. You're better than good. He kissed my temple. You're phenomenal. And they're going to realize what they lost every single day they watch you succeed. Is this what it's going to be like? I asked softly. You supporting my dreams? Me supporting yours? Building something real together? If you'll have me, yes, for the rest of our lives. He pulled back to look at me seriously. Margot, I know we're doing this backwards. We got married before we dated, said I love you before we had our first real kiss. But I don't want to wait anymore. I want to marry you again. Properly, with everyone we love watching, with vows we write ourselves. We're already married. Legally, yes. But I want you to have the wedding you deserve. Not a business arrangement, but a celebration. His eyes were earnest, hopeful. "What do you say? Will you marry me again?" I laughed through tears. "You're insane." "Is that a yes?" "That's a we're already planning a wedding before we've had our first real date observation." He grinned. "So, Saturday night?" "Dinner, movie, the full traditional dating experience. And then we plan the wedding?" "You're really doing this." "I'm really doing this. Because you deserve everything, Margot. The fairy tale, the romance, the happy ending. And I intend to spend the rest of my life giving it to you." Looking at him, this powerful man who'd built an empire but was willing to start over for me, I realized something. Revenge had opened a door, but love had built a home. "Okay," I whispered. "Let's do it all. The date, the wedding, the lifetime together. The lifetime together is my favorite part. Mine too." The pasta was burned beyond recognition. We ordered pizza instead, eating it on the floor like we had all the time in the world. Because we did. We had forever. 3 months into our real relationship, life had settled into something beautifully ordinary. I'd successfully launched the Riverside campaign, increasing engagement by 42% and earning grudging respect from even the most skeptical colleagues. Theodore and I had our first real date, then our second, then stopped counting because every day felt like falling in love again. Wedding plans were underway, with Blair serving as the world's most enthusiastic maid of honor. Everything was perfect, which is exactly when Victoria showed up. "There's someone here to see you," Theodore's assistant said, her voice uncertain. "She says it's urgent, personal." I was in Theodore's office, reviewing quarterly projections over lunch, our new tradition. He looked up from his tablet, frowning. "Who?" "Victoria Ashford, sir." The name hung in the air like poison. Theodore's expression went blank, that corporate mask he wore when something hurt too much to process. "Tell her I'm not available." "Theodore," I said softly, touching his hand. "Maybe you should see what she wants. I know what she wants. Attention, drama, me." His jaw clenched. "She left when things got hard. She doesn't get to walk back in when they're good again." "Then see her and tell her that." I squeezed his hand. "Face her, get closure. I'll be right here." He studied me for a long moment. "You're remarkable, you know that?" "So I've been told." I smiled. "Go. I'm not going anywhere." I waited in Theodore's office, trying not to eavesdrop but hearing raised voices from the conference room down the hall. "Thought I could just waltz back. Made a mistake, can't we?" "Moved on, Victoria. I'm married." "That social climbing nobody. Theodore, be serious." My blood boiled at social climbing nobody, but I stayed put. Theodore needed to handle this himself. 20 minutes later he returned, looking exhausted but lighter somehow. "Well?" I asked. "She wanted to reconcile. Said she'd made a mistake, that she realized what we had was real." He sat heavily in his chair. "She saw the gala photos. Apparently, seeing me happy with someone else triggered some revelation about us." "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That I loved her once, but she destroyed that when she abandoned me. That I found something real with you, something built on trust and partnership, not just convenience." His eyes met mine. "And that she needs to move on. Because I already have." Pride swelled in my chest. "How do you feel?" "Free." He pulled me onto his lap, burying his face in my neck. "Like I finally closed a chapter that's been haunting me for years. Thank you for pushing me to see her." That's what partners do. We face the hard things together. His arms tightened around me. Forever, forever. The next challenge came from an unexpected source, my past. I was in the marketing department, presenting campaign results to the team, when Clarissa's voice cut through the room. "Impressive numbers, Margot. Though I have to wonder." Her smile was saccharine. "How much of your success is actual talent versus being the boss's wife?" The room went silent. Everyone's eyes ping-ponged between us. I could have been petty, Could have reminded her of her probation status. Could have used my position to crush her. Instead, I smiled calmly. That's a fair question, Clarissa, which is why I've asked HR to conduct an anonymous peer review of my work. No names attached, just results and methodology. If the team thinks I'm coasting on my marriage, I want to know. Hartley's eyebrows rose. That's very professional, Mrs. Blackwood. It's just good business. I looked directly at Clarissa. I don't want anyone thinking I haven't earned my place here. Not anymore. Sienna shifted uncomfortably in her seat. For the first time since I'd returned, I saw something like shame cross her features. The peer review results came back a week later. I'd scored in the top 15% of the entire marketing division. Comments praised my innovation, strategic thinking, and collaborative approach. Hartley called me into his office, the report in his hands. Margot, I owe you an apology. I blinked. Sir, when you were fired, when I fired you, I didn't investigate properly. I took the easy route, protected the wrong people, and destroyed an innocent person's career. He looked older suddenly, tired. These results prove what I should have known then. You're exceptionally talented, and I'm sorry for not seeing it. Something in my chest loosened, a knot I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. Thank you. That means more than you know. I'm recommending you for the senior strategist position that's opening next quarter. Not because of your husband, but because you've earned it. He paused. I hope you'll accept. Walking out of his office, I felt like I was floating. This was it, the moment when my success became entirely mine. No asterisks, no doubts, no whispers about nepotism. Just me, my work, and the recognition I'd fought so hard to reclaim. I texted Theodore immediately. Hartley apologized, offered me senior strategist. I think I'm going to cry. His response was instant. Don't cry until I get there. I want to see your face. Leaving meeting now. He burst into the marketing floor 10 minutes later, swept me into his arms in front of everyone, and kissed me like we weren't surrounded by colleagues and computers. I'm so proud of you, he murmured against my lips. So impossibly proud. Theodore, we're at work. I don't care. He pulled back, grinning. My wife just earned a major promotion through sheer brilliance. I'm allowed to celebrate. Across the room, I saw Clarissa and Sienna watching. But instead of the smug satisfaction I'd expected to feel, I just felt free. They couldn't touch this, couldn't diminish it. This victory was mine, earned through talent and perseverance. I'd stopped needing their downfall to feel my own success. That evening, Theodore and I visited his grandfather. The old man was frailer now, the oxygen tank a constant companion, but his eyes still sparkled with mischief. Heard you're making waves at the company, he said to me, patting my hand with his weathered one. Making my grandson look bad with your fancy promotions. Never, Grandpa, Theodore said, settling beside him. She makes me look good by association. That's the secret to a good marriage, boy. Finding someone who makes you better than you are, alone. He looked between us, his expression growing serious. I need to tell you something. Both of you. My heart clenched. Theodore's hand found mine instinctively. The doctors say I've got maybe a month left. Maybe less. He held up a hand as Theodore started to protest. No. I've had a good life, a long life, and before I go, I needed to know you'd be okay, that you'd have someone to share your life with. Grandpa, Theodore's voice cracked. You gave me that, Margot. You gave him that. Tears shone in the old man's eyes. I know how this started. The contract, the arrangement. Blair told me everything. We both froze. But what I saw at that first dinner, what I've seen every time since, that wasn't acting. That was two people finding each other in the most unexpected way. He squeezed my hand. Thank you for loving my grandson, for showing him he deserves to be loved. I was crying now, unable to stop. Thank you for raising someone worth loving. He smiled, peaceful and content. The wedding. Make it soon. I want to be there. We will, Theodore promised, his voice thick with emotion. 2 weeks, that's all we need. 2 weeks then. Grandpa closed his eyes, exhausted but happy. Now go on, plan your wedding, make it beautiful, make it count. In the car ride home, Theodore was silent, processing. I held his hand, letting him feel whatever he needed to feel. 2 weeks, he finally said. Can we actually plan a wedding in 2 weeks? With Blair's help and unlimited resources? Absolutely. I lifted his hand to kiss his knuckles. We'll make it perfect. For him. For us. He knew all along, Theodore said softly, about the contract. And he loved you anyway. He loved that I loved you. That's different. Theodore pulled the car over suddenly, turning to face me. Margot Sinclair, soon to be officially Margot Blackwood, I need you to know something. What? You saved me. Not from loneliness or boredom or family pressure. You saved me from becoming someone I didn't want to be. Cold, closed off, afraid to feel. His hands cupped my face. You walked into my life demanding respect, earning your place, showing me what real partnership looks like. And I will spend every day of forever being grateful you took a chance on a ridiculous fake marriage proposal. Best worst decision I ever made, I whispered. Mine too. We kissed there, parked on the side of the road, two people who'd found each other through the strangest circumstances and built something real from the ashes of revenge and second chances. 2 weeks until the wedding. 1 month, maybe less, with Grandpa. A lifetime together ahead of us. And somehow, despite everything, it felt like the world was exactly as it should be. The garden wedding took place exactly 2 weeks later in the sprawling grounds of the Blackwood estate. Blair had worked miracles. White roses everywhere. String lights woven through trees like captured starlight. Chairs arranged in intimate rows for the 100 guests we'd invited. Grandma Rose sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, while Theodore's grandfather occupied a place of honor beside her, oxygen tank discreetly hidden by flowers. You ready? Blair asked, adjusting my veil. The dress was simpler than the gala gown, but infinitely more meaningful, ivory lace with delicate sleeves, elegant and timeless. I married him once in a courthouse with a witness we'd never met, I said, smiling at my reflection. I think I can handle doing it again with people we love. That's my girl. She squeezed my hand. Though for the record, I knew you two were endgame from day one. The way he looked at you when you first walked into family dinner. I've never seen my brother look at anyone like that. Music swelled from the garden, our cue. Walking down that aisle felt like coming home. Theodore stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored suit, but it was his expression that made my breath catch. Pure, unguarded love. No masks, no corporate armor, just a man watching the woman he loved walk toward their future. Grandpa was crying openly. So was Theodore's mother, who'd softened considerably over the months. Blair was recording everything on her phone while simultaneously crying and narrating to herself. And Grandma Rose? She was beaming like she'd planned the whole thing herself. Which, in a way, maybe she had. The universe worked in mysterious ways after all. Hi, Theodore whispered as I reached him, taking my hands. Hi yourself, I whispered back. Fancy meeting you here. The officiant smiled. We're gathered today to witness something rare. A love that began unconventionally but grew into something extraordinary. Theodore had insisted we write our own vows. Now, facing each other, he began. Margot, I wrote and rewrote these vows 17 times. Because how do you put into words what it feels like to find someone who sees through every wall you've built? Who challenges you, surprises you, and makes you want to be better? His voice cracked slightly. You walked into my life demanding respect, and somehow gave me something more valuable. Hope. Hope that love doesn't have to be transactional. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That I could be seen completely and still be worthy of being loved. Tears streamed down my face as I began mine. Theodore, when you called me that night with your insane proposal, I was sitting on my kitchen floor eating ice cream, convinced my life was over. You offered me money, revenge, a fresh start. But what you really gave me was belief. In myself, in second chances, in the possibility that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best things. I squeezed his hands. You taught me that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, dusting yourself off, and building something beautiful from the wreckage. I love you for seeing me when I was invisible, for defending me when I couldn't defend myself, and for choosing me every single day. I do, Theodore said, before the officiant could even ask. Everyone laughed through their tears. I do too, I managed. Always. The kiss was perfect, soft, deep, full of promises we intended to keep. As we turned to face our guests, hand in hand, I saw Grandpa's face, radiant with joy, peaceful in a way I'd never seen before. He raised his hand slightly, a blessing and a goodbye all at once. Theodore saw it too. He squeezed my hand tighter. I love you, Grandpa, he called out, voice carrying across the garden. I know, boy, Grandpa said, smiling. Now go live your life, both of you. Make it count. The reception was a blur of champagne, dancing, and joy. Hartley approached during dinner, looking uncomfortable but determined. Margot, I wanted to say, congratulations on everything. The wedding, the promotion, the life you've built. He paused. You deserved better from me, from all of us. I'm glad you didn't let what we did define you. Thank you, I said genuinely. I'm glad too. Even Clarissa and Sienna had sent gifts, expensive, impersonal, but perhaps their way of acknowledging defeat or growth. I chose to believe the latter, because here's what I'd learned. Revenge is satisfying for a moment, but building a life you love, that's satisfying forever. Theodore and I danced under the stars, surrounded by people who mattered, celebrating something real. Happy? He murmured in my ear. Impossibly, I said. You? More than I ever thought possible. He pulled back to look at me. Mrs. Blackwood, the real, official, no contracts Mrs. Blackwood. I have something to tell you. Should I be worried? I bought you something. He reached into his jacket pocket. It's a building, downtown. Perfect for a marketing consultancy. If you want to start your own firms, no pressure. Options. Freedom to build whatever you... I stared at the key. You bought me a bill. I bought my brilliant wife a building, so it's yours either way. Theodore Blackwood, you're absolutely... Is that a yes? That's an I love you so much I don't have words for it. I kissed him, not caring who was watching. And yes, someday when I'm ready, I'll build something amazing. With you cheering me on. Always, he promised, for the rest of our lives. 3 weeks later, Theodore's grandfather passed peacefully in his sleep, a photo from our wedding on his bedside table. The funeral was beautiful, celebrating a life well lived and a man deeply loved. Theodore gave the eulogy with grace and strength, his hand finding mine whenever the emotion threatened to overwhelm him. He got what he wanted, Theodore said that night, holding me close. He saw me happy, saw me loved. That's all he ever wanted. He was proud of you, I whispered. So proud. Because of you. Because you made me better. We made each other better. That's how this works. 6 months after the wedding, I stood in my new office, the building Theodore had given me, now home to Sinclair Strategic Marketing. My own firm, built from the ground up with talent I'd recruited and campaigns I'd designed. The first client I'd signed, a small company that needed someone to believe in them, to see their potential when others dismissed them. I knew how that felt. Theodore appeared in the doorway, 2 coffees in hand. Your 2 p.m. is here. And before you ask, yes, I'm staying for the meeting. I want to watch my wife be brilliant. You're biased. Completely. He kissed my temple. Doesn't make it less true. Blair burst in behind him, waving her phone. "Have you seen the industry magazine? They named you one of the top 30 marketing minds under 30. Take that, Clarissa and Sienna." I laughed. "I thought we were past gloating." "We are. I'm gloating on your behalf. It's different." She hugged me tight. "Seriously, though, I'm so proud of you. You turned pain into power. That's magic." Looking around my office, at the life I'd built, the love I'd found, the future stretching out bright and full of possibility, I realized something. Revenge had opened a door. But forgiveness, love, and relentless belief in myself, that's what had built a home. 3 years later. "Mama, why do you have 2 wedding dresses in the photos?" I looked down at our daughter, Lily Rose Blackwood, named for both grandmothers, her gray eyes so like her father's, full of curiosity. "Well," I said, settling her on my lap with our son, James Theodore, playing with blocks nearby. "The first time Daddy and I got married, we were both a little scared and pretending to be braver than we felt. The second time, we knew exactly what we were doing." "Which one was better?" she asked. Theodore appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. "The second one. Definitely the second one. But you loved the first one too," I said, smiling at him, "because it led to the second one." "Philosophical as always, Mrs. Blackwood." He scooped up James, who squealed with delight. "How was your day?" "Closed the Riverside account, again. They came back after seeing our results with their competitor." I grinned. "Told them our rates had tripled." "And they paid?" Without blinking, pride shone in his eyes. "That's my girl." "Oh, Daddy's being mushy," Lily declared, sliding off my lap to play with her brother. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Theodore and I stood on our balcony, the same penthouse where this had all begun, now filled with toys and laughter and life. "Do you ever think about how this started?" I asked, leaning into him. "Every day." His arms wrapped around me. "And I'm grateful for every bizarre, improbable step that led us here. Even the part where you proposed to a stranger? Especially that part. Best business decision I ever made." He turned me to face him, though it stopped being business pretty quickly. "Week 2, I confirmed. "Week 1, he corrected. I just didn't admit it until week 2. I laughed, the sound carrying into the night. "Theodore Blackwood, you're still full of surprises." "I have a lifetime left to surprise you, Margot Blackwood. Think you can handle it?" I kissed him, soft and sweet, and full of the love we'd built from the strangest beginning. "Try and stop me." And as the city lights twinkled below us, 2 people who'd started as strangers with a contract held each other tight, knowing that sometimes the best love stories begin with the most unexpected proposals. The end.